Proper labeling, storage, and use of potential toxic compounds. Area number 6 of the 8 areas of sanitation. Presented by David L.A. Rosson. This training presentation was developed specifically to assist seafood and juice processors meet the regulatory requirements of 21 CFR 120 for juice processors and 21 CFR 123 for fish and fishery product processors with regard to the labeling, storage, and use of toxic compounds. So what is a processor anyway? A processor for fish or juice means any person engaged in commercial, custom, or institutional processing, either in the United States or in a foreign country. Processing includes any person engaged in the production of foods that are used in market or consumer test. This definition is from 21 CFR 123 3L or 21 CFR 120.3K. Processors are required to monitor and correct and document the monitoring and correction of the 8 areas of sanitation, as outlined in 21 CFR 120.6 in the Sanitation Standard Operating Procedures, or SSOPs, and in 21 CFR 123.11 in Sanitation Control Procedures, or SCPs. 8 areas of sanitation. 8 areas of sanitation are required to be monitored, document the monitoring, corrected, document corrections, and the 8 areas need to be in compliance with 21 CFR 117 subpart B. This class is about proper labeling, storage, and use of toxic compounds. But take a look at the other 7 as well. Juice and fish and fishery product processors shall monitor the conditions and practices during processing with sufficient frequency to ensure, at a minimum, conformance with those conditions and practices specified in Part 110 of this chapter and in Subpart B of 117 of this chapter that are appropriate to the plant and to the food being processed. Each processor shall correct, in a timely manner, those conditions and practices that are not met. Those 8 areas we just looked at, that's what you have to monitor. In order to meet the requirements of 21 CFR 120 and 123 for the 8 areas of sanitation, they are required to be in compliance with 21 CFR 117 subpart B, the Current Good Manufacturing Practice Regulation, or CGMP. As of September 17, 2018, all juice and fish and fishery product processors are required to be in compliance with 21 CFR 117 subpart B. 21 CFR 117 subpart B replaced 21 CFR 110. 21 CFR 117 subpart B, which I've attached a copy here for you to look at in the class resources, covers the people and covers the environment. The 8 areas of sanitation are required to be in compliance with 21 CFR 117 subpart B. Your products are products of your environment. The environment is the setting or conditions in which a particular activity or action is carried out. A product is a thing or a person that is a result of an action or a process. You're a processor, so your product, a thing, is a result of an action of a process. The process is carried out in a particular environment, setting, or conditions. Don't forget that. 21 CFR 117 subpart B covers people and the environment. The 8 areas of sanitation are required to be in compliance with the GMP regulation. Processors are required to monitor the 8 areas of sanitation. Processors are required to correct any deficiencies found during monitoring. Processors are required to document the monitoring and corrections of the 8 areas of sanitation. We're required to monitor, correct, and document the monitoring corrections of proper labeling, storage, and use of toxic compounds, as well as ensure that our use, storage, and labeling is in compliance with 21 CFR 117, subpart B. I've done a little side-by-side comparison for you here so you can see the requirements of 120 and 123, as well as the requirements in 117. This is not an all-inclusive list. Make sure you go through 117 on your own with your team, looking for areas where proper labeling, storage, and use of chemicals and compounds is mentioned. So let's talk about the goal here. The goal is to ensure that the labeling, storage, and use of toxic compounds are adequate to protect the food from contamination. So what should we monitor? Well, we need to monitor that toxic compounds are properly labeled, properly stored, and properly used. So what constitutes proper labeling of containers? Well, the original label on a container should have the name of the compound or solution in the container, the name and address of the manufacturer's or manufactured for or packed for or distributed by, and appropriate approvals, as well as instructions for proper use. The label is the law with regard to these chemicals. Working containers, labels must show name of the compound or solution in the container and instructions for proper use. So with regard to proper storage of toxic compounds, ensure that they're in a room with limited access. Be sure to segregate food grade from non-food grade, and keep away from food equipment, utensils, and other food contact surfaces, like packaging material. Containers used to hold cleaners and sanitizers must not be food containers that could inadvertently be used to pack a food product. Never reuse chemical containers as food containers. Be sure to properly use chemicals and compounds according to the manufacturer's instructions, and be sure to use them in a way that will not result in the adulteration of products, contact surfaces, or food packing material. So how often or when should we monitor? Well, with sufficient frequency to ensure control or conformance, recommended at least once per working day, and observe conditions and activities throughout the day, and be mindful of the point of use of these chemicals and compounds. While monitoring, you may find areas that need corrections. So let's take a look at some possible corrections. Move incorrectly stored toxic chemicals to an appropriate storage area. Return to supplier if inadequately labeled. Correctly label working containers. Destroy damaged containers. Assess safety of food, and reinforce training of employees are possible corrections for improper use, storage, and handling of chemicals. In order to meet the requirements of 21 CFR 120 for juice products and 21 CFR 123 for fish and fishery products, the 8 areas of sanitation are required to comply with the current good manufacturing practice CGMP regulation, or 21 CFR 117 subpart B, labeling, storage, and use of toxic compounds is one of those 8 areas. This completes your training on the labeling, storage, and use of toxic compounds. Please complete the quiz and review all attachments. And thanks for choosing 123foodhandler.com.